is you got to commit to personal development, because personal development is really like a string. This book, when I first read it about 5 years ago, and it started this journey, it became like a string. It almost led me to the next book, It led me to other guys that I've never met personally, but I met them through books. Now I probably have like about 30 books that I have read on personal development that have developed me, and have made me even understand the Bible more and become a better Christian, I believe. So I really encourage you to begin this journey. And tonight, we are actually now on this last habit, and really is going to introduce us to another one, but you know, I'll give you details on that. But this is now where we really put everything into perspective. If you guys remember that maturity cycle, that circle, you don't know whether you have that slide, Dr. Mary, it shows, it controls all the habits that you've been working on. You know, being proactive, beginning with the end in mind, putting first things first, thinking win-win, seeking first to understand and to be understood, synergizing. Now, sharpening the saw is now basically what puts all this together to become that 1-2 punch that is going to really now propel you to sharpening the saw. I like what Abraham Lincoln says. He says, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the saw. And we're going to, you know, see what really that means. But it's really talking about enhancing you. Because if you understand you are the MVP, you are the best asset. And if you don't take care of you, if you don't really take care of you, then you will not really be able to operate at MVP level. So I want you guys to first see this video. Like you guys just to open up your heart. Just see this video, as I like the little cartoons he makes. And then we are going to just dig into it and get into really some nuts and bolts. So whenever you're ready, Dr. Mary, just play the video. It's about 2-3 minutes.
Imagine,
and then we'll get to, we are not seeing the video yet.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I did not remember to resume my share.
Hey, you're doing great.
My new share. We can all see it now?
There it is. Yep.
All right.
and that there is a giant tree in your garden and also one in the garden of your neighbor. You both decide to get rid of your trees because they got too tall and they start to block the sunlight, and also there is too much work with all the leaves falling down in fall. You both decide to saw down your tree on Sunday, but you secretly decide to begin early in the morning because they're done by the time your neighbor is getting up, and also you want to feel a little superior. You imagine yourself relaxing in the sun and watching your neighbor sawing down his tree. On Sunday, early, and old saw out of the basement and start at 9 a.m. After 3 hours of sawing, you got 1/3 of the work done. And your neighbor says, "Oh, why did you start so early?" And you reply, "You know, I woke up early and I'm a productive person." So then your neighbor gets his saw and sits down on the saw. Then he starts sawing, and within an hour, his tree is sawed and falls. And then he sits down and sharpens his saw again for the next time and gets a cold drink after the hard work. After his drink, he walks over to you while you are still sawing. He asks, "Why don't you take a few minutes to sharpen your saw? Then you will be much faster." And your best reply is, "Sorry, I can't do this because I'm too busy sawing a tree. And I think that my tree is much thicker than yours. Otherwise, I would also be done already." I really like this little story. It shows what we all do in some areas. We don't take the time to regenerate ourselves. And in this case, regenerate the saw, so to speak. When it comes to things, it seems pretty normal that we need some extra time for their maintenance. We never run out of gas because we are too busy refilling the tank. But we often forget to sharpen our saw and regenerate when it comes to our mind and our body. There are 4 areas we have to maintain regularly: our physical self, our mental self, our spiritual self, and our social emotional self. Great tools I use for regeneration and sharpening the saw are stretching, working out for my body. I read, learn, and meditate constantly for regenerating I visualize my goals and roles in life at least once a month for my spiritual self, and meet and laugh with friends and family in person, not via Facebook or Twitter, for my social emotional self. Far too many people are too busy with everything else and have so many excuses to not regenerate, like the guy who's still sawing down his tree. So make use of the last habit, habit 7, and sharpen your saw. Did you know that there is an 8th habit that is called
That's good,
Find Your Voice?
Dr. Mary.
Did you know that the 7 habits of highly effective people are based on 4 underlying principles? If you want to find...
Right.
Wow. I hope you guys got a kick from that video, because that reminded me of how a lot of people, you see them, it brings that, if you can bring back the PowerPoint, Dr. Mary, but it brings back the whole thing of you can be busy, but not productive. And unfortunately, that is where a lot of us are, not in this class, because you guys have been practicing the 7 habits, but you can actually be working really hard, but the productivity is not really showing up. And one of the key things you'll find out is because this regeneration is lacking. And it's important to just sit back and really ask yourself some key questions. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive deep, because a lot of people like that, those 2 guys you saw, everybody wants the same things. Everybody wants to get the job done. Everybody wants to, do the best for their family and have a good life and, retire early and get your boat and go ministry and, be financially free, which is good things to want. But what we are basically learning is that these things just don't happen. Just because you want them or you desire to have them, they don't happen by themselves. You really have to be intentional about it. And sharpening the saw is really now putting that intention behind it. We've been talking about this habit, 3 things that you always have to remember. The first thing, you got to have the desire. You've got to want to become better. If you don't have the desire, you can't even go to the next step. That God grants you the desires of your heart when you delight yourself in the Lord. So it's important to really be like, you know what? I want this for myself. And then now you do the next step, which we're doing. We get the knowledge. We find out, how do we really get this to happen? And then now we get to the skill. How do we implement it? And every time you stay into that desire, knowledge, and skill, you'll find yourself moving a little bit faster with less effort. So the 4 dimensions that Steve Colby here really touches, which I think are key, the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul. And this is the areas where, if we are not really intentional, we'll be those kind of people who are pampering themselves mentally and spiritually. You know, those people who know a lot of Bible verses and know a lot of personal, and they make themselves feel like, wow, I'm really getting it done. But the truth of the matter is that it's like the joy is zapped out. We are having Christians, which is really sad, where they're going to church, but there's no joy of God in their lives. And you're like, wow, how can you be serving this vibrant God and you're really not operating every day with this vibrant energy? So this is what really this sharpening the saw. We are coming back to that place where we've got to work on this thing. So we're going to get into it. But the first thing that I need you guys to understand is, you've got to perform a checklist. You've got to first do some self-awareness. You've got to be like, you know what, this is where I am. This is so much important, man. And Dr. Mary, man, that presentation you did about finding where you are and decluttering and regenerate, and then, just designing your life on purpose, that was one of the best sessions I've had in a long time. And the first key, you've got to figure out, where am I right now? Where am I physically, mentally, spiritually, socially. And then once you really become clear, then you can move on to the next level. You got to ask yourself the right questions. One of the best things that you can really do in this sharpening the saw, be a person that asks lots of questions. That the quality of your life is really determined by the questions you ask. Begin asking, things that nourish you. What inspires you? What memories can you pass? What did you see that, made your baby leap? Ask yourself a lot of what questions. What questions are easy, because what questions, they don't require any deep thinking. It's like, there it is. It makes me feel good. What keeps me awake at night? What clatters? What clatters my life? What kind of stuff is clattering? What is still enjoy? The more you can really become aware of what you're dealing with, you'll be better positioned. Then now you'll be like the really good boxers, like Mike Tyson, who they knew their target. The first round, they went for it. It was a 1-2 punch knockout, because now you're hitting on target. You're not just throwing blows on the air and wasting your energy and making excuses on how your tree is big. So once you do a checklist, then you got to get to planning. And this is huge. And I can guarantee you the next class we'll be doing will have to get into this. I'm working on some tools that I think we can all implement, because guys, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I like this formula I just made up. Once you reflect, you find out what's going on, what you're missing. Then now you prioritize on that thing. You're like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna be proactive. I'm gonna start working on this thing. And then now the next one, which is really tough, you discipline yourself. So once you start executing it one step at a time, and that's the key. One step at a time. Don't try to do 1,000 steps at a time. That's how people get too overwhelmed. I have a little small piece of land over here. I can guarantee you, I don't dig it. I help a little bit, but you only do it one piece at a time. That's what really gets the momentum. And really what that does, what I found out, as you start doing small little steps, it decreases stress. See, everybody talks about stress, and everybody has it. And the only way you manage it is really once you begin to plan and you do that, and you'll realize that you're increasing these feelings of renewal and balance. And it's very important. See, I realized if you don't feel good about doing something, you really don't do it. If you don't feel good about working out, if you don't feel good about your spiritual time, you're not gonna do it. So this planning, reflecting really will make a difference. So let's get to it. Let's get to the 4 dimensions. Let's get into it and really now get to the nuts and bolts. And we'll get some time. I really want to hear what some of you guys are doing, because I know I need work in some of these areas. But the first is getting physical. Is the physical dimension. This is where now you take care of your body. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And this is, I like this quote over here by this anonymous guy. He says, your body will honor you, with wellness and strength, if you honor it with awareness. And I was like, this is really important, again, to just begin to think about what are you putting into your body. Food is going to be your big thing. I saw this quote in my chiropractor's office, that food determines your mood. And he did this whole session, and we'll probably, Dr. Mary, have your daughter one of these days really breaking it down on what food really does, because I don't think just a few minutes will give it justice. But from your dairy, I was looking at this Canadian plate. I stuck it. You'll see that they have like 3/4 of the plate full of veggies and fruits and nuts and all this good stuff, and only just a little bit of meat. Now the American plate is different. We stuck it up with meat and yamachoma. I like some meat. I ain't no vegetarian, but really and truly is, if you don't give your body the right fuel, it's not gonna operate at max potential. You know, you can't just put your car dirt and expect it to operate. You gotta give it the best fuel. So this is just, become aware. And actually after this call, I'm gonna send everybody personally a checklist that you can do, because it was like 10, 20 things that you can really ask yourself to really find out, how you're doing with your health. And you guys know how to get physical. I mean, everybody knows we need to do exercise, we need to stretch, we need to work out, and everybody knows this. Now, what I've always asked myself is, because most people, if you ask them what you're supposed to do to get really physical healthy, they'll tell you in a heartbeat. They're like, yeah, I know I need to do my cardio, and I mean, they sound like a fitness coach. But if they sign up for that gym membership, they barely do it. After the first month, everybody has given up on their goal. And this is why now awareness is so important. Taking time to reflect and really asking yourself some of these questions to really make sure you are preparing yourself to understand that this physical part is important. Actually, there's a verse that says that you take care. Your body has some benefit. So this is really just a check for you to really understand that for you to operate in high performance, you've got to prioritize your physical time. You got to make sure you have time. And this is what I love, and this is what I encourage people. Don't think about it like you have to go 2 hours to a gym. I know a lot of people, if you've not been working out and you go to the gym for 2 hours, the only thing you're going to lose is morale. You're just never going to show up again. Mm-hmm. I know, because I tried it, Dr. Mary. Mm-hmm. I had 3 months before I was about to get married, and I called DC. DC was my coach. I said, DC, I need to look good. I need to make sure, man, when I'm getting married, I'm fit. I got my six-pack. I can't be running around with my belly just floating all over the place. And DC was like, man, three months. Are you sure you're ready? I said, listen, I'm ready. So we went with him to the gym 1 day, 2 days. All I can tell you is that the third day, I never showed up. I didn't even pick up his calls for like 3 weeks. I didn't like him. I said, I told him you're not a good coach. I told him you suck. And really, it's because I wasn't really ready to put the work. I mean, after I did the presses, I had to call off work because of the strain. But the plan is, the key to that message is you've got to learn how to do it progressively, one step at a time. 15 minutes every day, guys, can change your life. If you say every day, and this is my schedule, and I can't wait to hear you guys, every morning, I try to wake up at least an hour early. The first 15 minutes, I do my stretching. I do a little bit of, 10-pound little workout. I have a little wobble ball for my back, and just do a lot of movement, and I get a good sweat. 15 minutes. Once I get that sweat in, I tell you, once I shower, I feel like I'm a new person. I'm ready to read my Bible. It controls. You release all the endorphins. And like I say, Dr. Mary, you're going to have to pull special deals with your daughter to just get really a session one of these trainings to just talk about physical. So let's go on with the next slide on spiritual dimension. That's the second dimension that you have to really work on. And in each of these dimensions, and we're going to talk this at the end, once you really analyze where you are, you've got to write something and commit to it, that I will do A, B, C, D for so much time. It's a commitment. That's what you've got to realize. Spiritual dimension, this is the core. This is what gives you the center. This is actually what is going to provide the order and the leadership to your life. I like that verse that Jesus gave to his disciples. He said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things are going to be added unto you. Basically trying to let you know that if you're going to get everything that you desire, you've got to get first your spiritual priority. It has to be first, then everything else follows. I like what that John 1:2 says, I pray that you may prosper in all things. I really want you to be good, be healthy, but here's the key, even as your soul prospers. So it's basically trying to let us know that if we don't understand that spiritual dimension has to play a priority, it has to play a role in our lives, then we will never really prosper in all these things. Spiritual dimension is what sets these things up. So that means we have to make time. And there's a lot of ways to renew spiritually, and I'm so glad, we got Dr. Mary who does on Tuesday and Sunday. But you can meditate, like on the next slide. You can prayerfully, like that's what I do. Pray. This is the first thing I tell everybody. Just pray, talk to God. Just tell him what's in your heart. You don't need to pray like King James. Just tell him what's going on. This is the first action I think you should do to renew spiritually, and then, get some time to meditate, just try to get some quiet time. Personally, I love some music. I put some worship music, Waymaker, you're here. I'll even sometimes have just some saxophones playing, and then nature is a big one, trying to, just take some time. And be intentional about it. Be like, every month I'm gonna go to the park or to the mountains. Personal mission statement. This one is very important, and I hope you guys took your notes. You need to have a personal mission statement for yourself and for your family. You gotta have it written down, edited. This is actually one of the things I'd encourage everybody to start with. Go ahead and just write something that is important to you. And then, get that mission for your family as well. This is important to really begin to get your balance spiritually. And what you've got to understand, this is where you have to be, you kind of have to be selfish in a way. You have to really look at yourself, and you're like, I need to become better. Sometimes we try to look at everybody else, and this is more like, I'm the MVP. I'm the guy who needs to be at peak level. So I got to make sure I am getting better in these areas. So let's keep on moving on the third dimension. The third dimension, mental dimension. That's a good one. I like this quote. Either your mind grows to achieve your goals, or it shrinks, to not accommodate your goals. I'm going to work on that quote a little bit. I was trying to play with it. But it's a simple concept. Either you're growing your mind or you're dying. There is no in between. If you don't mentally sharpen yourself, you lose some skills. It's really true. If you don't use it, you start losing it. Nature. If anything is not being used, it gets taken away. That's why you see most of the people who retire and they don't have anything they're doing. Their game plan was just to retire and stay and watch TV. They don't survive for long. And talking of TV, this is one of the things that we really have to be careful for ourselves and for our children. Survey says that TV gets turned on 40 hours or more per week. And TV, like I tell people, it's television. It's setting up a vision for you from the TV. Fox tells you everything that Trump, needs, or crisis news network, like I call it. It tells you what you need to react to. You really need to watch less and begin to create your own vision. One of the best ways is, you got to get time to read, time for books. You've got, I have a big list, but, we're going to discuss it some more. But this is your daily private victory. You got to be on discipline. You've got to read your Bible, your books, and really make sure that you're sharpening your mind, whether it's formal, get a skill, get an idea. I mean, it doesn't matter. Also, I was telling Dr. Mary, when I went to Kenya, my brother, he does MRIs for his hospital, but because he's always mental, if he's on YouTube, he's trying to find out the new technology, he found a way where he can use 3D printing to actually turn those MRI results into something that can be given to the patients and to the surgeons to help them with their work. And all he did was because he decided to increase his mental awareness. So we've got to keep on. We cannot be lazy and not do this daily private victory. And then finally, on the fourth dimension, social emotional dimension. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people during this COVID have really turned into depressions, because this is such a key area. Relationships is the key. Social and emotional dimension. We have to really invest in relationships. And I like this quote, in relationships, the most important ingredient, it's not so much even what you say or what you do, but it's what you are and what you're becoming, and just the time that you spend, with others. It's basically turning off more social media and really interacting more with others, doing what we're doing. I wish I could be with you guys, but yeah, it's just turning off Twitter. This should be a goal. I like the challenge that Dr. Mary, you gave, that, we have to really be intentional, where we have to be like 1 week, we just fast 1 day, where we don't have any news, anything on the phone, and just, interact with God, interact with others, and just talk more. This is going to be very key. And I'll send you guys like a full checklist. There are like 40 things that you can do in each area. So I want to send you so that you can see where it is that you're missing. So now that we have covered the 4 dimensions, the key that is so important in all this is creating a balance. And this is really tough, guys. I'm sure you've heard it in your work, how they're trying to do the work life. I don't know how they really work it, but honestly, they don't. You have to be the person who really works this balance. And basically balancing off for all those 4 dimensions is to making sure that you don't neglect any of the areas. Each area is important. Now, it's important when you're starting this renewal to you'll find out once you do the awareness and the checklist that there is an area that sticks out more. Some people would have more issues with mental, others is more physical, others is spiritual. So once you do that, you'll realize this is what that needs the most attention. So what I would encourage you is to begin on that area. Don't worry about all the other areas, because all this, like if you sow that first circle on on slide 6, is everything is connected, with each other. It's all a circle. Yeah, there it is. The physical, it's tied up to the social, it's tied up to the mental, it's tied up to the spiritual. So whichever area, once you do that checklist and awareness, and you realize, man, you know what? This is the area that has been keeping me awake at night. I've been feeling just so heavy. I don't have energy. and this kind of thing. You know, maybe you might be you need some social emotional. Maybe you're a lone ranger like Dr. Mary says, and you're like, you know what? I gotta be more intentional. I gotta find how can I serve? How can I connect with other people? How can I build some synergy? You know, or spiritual, you need to commit more. It's very important. I always say that the most important part in a vehicle is whatever is missing at that point. So I'm going to send you guys, because you are so cool, I'm going to send you the condensed version, some questions you can ask yourself, and really practical ways that you can really begin this process. And I really believe that we are going to get to it. So on your homework, you got to plan. I mean, planning is a big thing. You know, use your journal, use your Outlook calendar, use whatever it is that you use for planning. You know, we're going to do this in more detail in our next training session once we get it. But you need to really be intentional. Which idea can I start right now? Once you analyze all the things, you have to. Now, one of the things that I will encourage you is the first week, take some time to research. Like, you know, for instance, that physical part, just the research, like the research you can make on what kind of nutrients do I need to be eating, what vitamins, what exercise plan, because I mean, I want you trying to lift weights. I mean, unless you're like Nehemiah, you're in the military, you know, you go out there trying to do, you're gonna hurt yourself. I mean, right now I'm sticking with 10 pounds. I can't, you know, be doing 100 pounds. I'm gonna hurt myself. You know, I'm just jumping in the trampoline and getting my cardio. But the point is, you find what works for you, and this is where that planning is. And you have to, you know, you have to keep yourself accountable. You know, get somebody to keep you accountable, but say, you know what, I will research this coming week on the best plan for my diet. Be as specific as you can. And then, you know, affirm it. That's why every time, and we're going to still do it today, you've got to make these declarations every day when you wake up. Write them for yourself. You know, I am visualizing my goals as already done. You know, I practice the habits that serve my purpose. And then once you get these general affirmations, now begin to zoom into the long-term, short-term things that you can do. I mean, promise yourself, I will take myself to a date. You know, I'll take myself to a date this week. You know, I'm going to love myself. So I really want you guys to take this to heart. I'm going to be sharing the next plan, because once you really master these habits or really just start practicing them, you're really going to start seeing a lot of change. So at this point, because I love this part when we really get to discuss and I want to hear questions. I want to hear what you guys have done in those 4 dimensions, how you're doing to sharpen your soul. And then any questions you have, we can now really just you know, help each other out. So at this point, Dr. Mary, you can open up the lines for everybody, and we can really chime in before we get to a